Hello. Recognize this place? If you look carefully, you can see the outline of North America here. This is scientists' educated best guess as to what North America looked like some 100 million years ago. And at that time, a body of water called the Western Interior Seaway split North America in two. And notice the island on the left called Laramidia. That's where many species of dinosaurs roamed at that time. And that includes the mightiest of all dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus rex. And today I'm speaking with a researcher at University College London in the field of paleontology to tell us about it. Cass Morrison, hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Deborah.
Yes, I thank you so much for coming. So I didn't know this about T-Rex, but we know something about T-Rex's ancestors, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Our recent study has actually found that the grandfather, direct ancestors of Tyrannosaurus Rex, migrated from Asia, into North America about 69, 70 million years ago.
Wow. So let's back up a second. So T-Rex fossils have been found in what we now know as Montana, North and South Dakota, and Wyoming, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And so when are we talking about? Like when did T-Rex live? Can you give us a date range?
T-Rex lived from about 68 million years to 66 million years, just when the famous asteroid impact, sort of wiped out the dinosaurs, unfortunately.
Oh, wow, 68 million to 66 million. So, only a couple of million years of T-Rex.
That's correct. Most
Oh, I
most
didn't know that
dinosaur
either.
most dinosaur genuses only last about a couple of million years, if that.
Wow. But they go back even farther. So there were ancestors that went back farther than that. Is that right or is that not right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and so how far do those earlier ancestors go back that we know
So
of?
the family of Tyrannosaurus Rex goes back to the Jurassic period. So that's sort of another 90 million years beforehand. Um, but it gets to how you want to sort of divide, like you have your great 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 grandfather, and then you have your grandfather, and so forth. The more direct ancestors of T-Rex were in the last sort of 10 million years of the Cretaceous.
Okay, but you say that you can trace dinosaurs all the way back into the Jurassic. So what is that like another 200 million years before when T-Rex was around? Is
So we
that right?
can, sorry, so it's about 150, give or take. We can probably trace the very sort
Wow.
of origin of dinosaurs, another 150 million years or so from Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Wow.
And we have a relatively good family tree where we can quite accurately, show the relationships of most dinosaurs. Not all of them, most dinosaurs.
Wow. Okay. I didn't I mean, when I was playing with dinosaurs as a kid, which I had mentioned to you earlier, Cass, that was my favorite thing
Yes,
was the
yeah.
T-Rex. I had no idea that we knew creatures older than T-Rex. So what do we know about them? Let me pop up a picture here. So I don't know if this illustration, this artist concept is supposed it must be depicting the time when T-Rex lived, or what do you know what this is depicting? This came with your
Yes.
announcement of your study.
This is a summary of the study, to show sort of a multitude of things that we found. So on the far right of the screen, you see Tyrannosaurus Rex, um, on top of a duck-billed dinosaur, and in the background you have a Sinoceratops. So North America is famous for the horned dinosaurs, like such as Triceratops. There's many different species, and they're more or less exclusive to North America. But that Pacific species there is one of the few species also found in Asia. So the right of the screen is summarizing how Tyrannosaurus Rex has migrated from Asia into North America and then became sort of the king of the dinosaurs there. The middle of the piece actually shows um, what happened after the mid-Cretaceous, so about 19 million years ago. The world was its hottest globally in the last 200 million years. And at that time, many of the large meat-eating dinosaurs, such as the carcharodontosaurs, which are a relative of quite a famous dinosaur of the Jurassic, Allosaurus, and also Spinosaurus, which is famous from Jurassic Park 3 for killing Tyrannosaurus Rex, they got wiped out or became extinct around 90 million years ago. And then the ancestors of Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is the little dinosaur on top of the dead one, as well as their close relatives, the Megaraptorins, they started to become their apex predator from then till the asteroid impact. And then on the far left, you have the dinosaur in the blues and the greys. That's a Megaraptorin, so that's sort of a great cousin of Tyrannosaurus Rex. And whereas Tyrannosaurus Rex and its cousins became sort of dominant apex predators in North America and Asia, the Megaraptorins dominated South America, and then behind them are sort of the sauropod dinosaurs, which became extinct around this time in North America, but they prospered within the southern continents like South America, Africa, and India.
Okay, so dinosaur species came into being and then would go extinct, and then other dinosaur species would rise up.
Correct.
Is that what it was like? Actually, I
Absolutely,
didn't really
absolutely correct.
realize that. Yeah.
Absolutely correct. Um,
Okay.
qu-
And
quite an quite interesting fact is that we are closer in time to Tyrannosaurus Rex than Tyrannosaurus Rex is in time to Stegosaurus.
wow, amazing. Yeah. So they were very successful species for a long, long time.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
Yeah, much longer than us. Okay. So, and there's fossil evidence for these very, very ancient dinosaurs in
correct.
Asia.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, there
And
are.
so your study is talking about uh, that they came from Asia, that the ancestors of Tyrannosaurus Rex came from Asia and migrated into North America. So how did they do that? Like they didn't have
Uh,
boats, so how did they
no,
get
they don't
here?
have boats. I mean, most dinosaurs could swim, but we're not suggesting it
Huh?
swam the Pacific Ocean. Uh, there was a land bridge which joined sort of Siberia to Alaska, and they most likely went across that land bridge, which would allow the change of species between North America and Asia.
And so when do you think that might have happened?
We, our study suggests it would have been around 70 million years. 70 million years ago is when sort of the direct ancestor of Tyrannosaurus Rex made that crossing across the land
Wow,
bridge.
that's so interesting. So they crossed the land bridge into Laramidia, that thing that I showed on the map at the
Yeah,
beginning, that westernmost part of North America, which is now, Wyoming and North and South
yeah.
Dakota, and those places where we find their fossils. And then did it's like then they became Tyrannosaurus Rex. So Tyrannosaurus Rex is the mightiest of the dinosaurs, right? That we know, like the fiercest, the biggest, the meat eater, the scariest.
Yes, so it is hotly debated online about what is the biggest, the meanest, as it were, meat-eating dinosaur. We do
Right.
have actually the most specimens of Tyrannosaurus Rex, and generally speaking, it is the heaviest of the meat-eating dinosaurs. So it probably was, until we find more fossil evidence, probably still deserves the title of King of the Dinosaurs.
Wow. And so because I'm looking at this image again that we're looking at,
Yeah,
and the middle part, the one that's standing on the I can't tell what that is there. Is that the
it's a
Stegosaurus that
carcharodontosaur.
he's
It's a carcharodontosaur, so it's a relative of
yeah,
Allosaurus.
but that's just a little bitty that's the one you said is the ancestor, right? That little
Yes,
small
correct,
one. And so that's
correct.
what would have migrated over, but then it became this gigantic Tyrannosaurus Rex. So why did it get so big?
Um, so that was around about 90 million years ago. the ancestor of Tyrannosaurus rex would probably be maybe a slimmed down version of T Rex. You would probably
Oh,
still
okay.
roughly recognize it. Um,
Okay.
the reason for migration isn't necessarily clear, but it was likely was able to exploit an ecological niche, or it was able to dominate the ecosystem as it kept going. It would be w- westward,
Eastward.
eastward. Yeah, no, if we get to that part of the world, eastward.
Yeah.
And so it was very successful at what it was doing to be able to make the migration. And because it was going sort of around the polar regions or quite close to the polar regions, and even though those were much warmer than they are today, I think people described it as sort of maybe British Columbia, sort of those massive redwoods, sequoia, sort of temperate rainforests. It was probably able to exploit that migration route for both prey and the cooler climates compared to other predatory dinosaurs. So it was able to make that crossing.
That's amazing. That's so interesting. So these earlier creatures, were they like Tyrannosaurus Rex in the sense that they were fierce? I mean, were they, do we know? I mean, we have fossils, correct, of those creatures?
Sort
Do we
of.
have fossils?
We have its like cousin Tarbosaurus. We have lots of
Okay,
specimens of Tarbosaurus, and we have lots of specimens of Tyrannosaurus Rex, and we are able to tell that they are closely related by doing sort of family tree analysis.
I see.
We then have very tantalizing evidence of probably bits of bones of other tyrannosaurs which are slightly older, but they're not good enough to be able to for us to be able to give them a species name. So we know something was around, but exactly what we can't tell yet.
Okay, and those are the ancestors.
Correct. Of Tyrannosaurus Rex.
They don't have a species name. Okay, and so that's why there's a debate about this. So I understand there's a pretty fierce debate going on about
Yeah.
whether those ancestors came from Asia or whether T-Rex was in North America all along.
Yes, there's a fierce debate, and it boils down to a couple of things. It boils down to what fossils we have, but also equally as important are the dating of the where the fossils are found in the rock unit. Um, so to date fossils, usually the best way to date them is having a sort of igneous or volcanic ash layers nearby, because they're the best for dating. Because the type of rocks that preserve fossils, sedimentary rocks, aren't the best for dating. So if you don't have a good dating system, that adds to the debate because people can question the dating of the rocks, as well as the actual fossils themselves.
Okay. And so let's talk about climate for a minute because we're going to run out of time and I want to get to this. So so your study looked, and so, wait, before we start about that, tell me how you conducted your study. Like, what was it that you did exactly?
So we used computer modeling of fossil data occurrence, of climate data, um, and we put that into sort of a biogeographical modeling system where it is able to take into account absence of fossils, but also their presence to come up with the most likely family tree and dispersal routes for tyrannosaurs and their relatives.
Wow. And so one of the things that you found was that there was an increase in size that coincided with a cooling of global climate that had followed a peak in temperatures 92 million years ago. So what does that suggest?
So it suggests a couple of things. One, that the exploitation of tyrannosaurs getting bigger in size occurred potentially due to the cooling of the climate, but it may also be due to the extinction of the carcharodontosaurs and the spinosaurs, the dead one in the middle of the image, because these were keeping the tyrannosaur ancestors quite small, and they might not been able to cope with the increase in temperature because these were quite large-bodied animals, and when temperature increases, large-bodied animals can really start to struggle. It could also be due to changes in vegetation that affected the prey of these animals. So there was an extinction event, and then tyrannosaurs were able to exploit sort of both the availability in not having an apex predator, but they're also able to colonize and emigrate into areas which were much cooler, like towards the poles across Alaska, which the allosaurs and spinosaurs were never able to do when they were alive.
Okay. And so, tell me about what you were mentioning before we went on the air about dinosaurs and feathers.
Yes. So in about the late 90s, we actually found the first fossil evidence of many dinosaurs with feathers. Most of them were quite small, like Velociraptor size. Um, and we actually, from China, you get these beautifully preserved fossils with feather impressions. Um, uh, quite a quite a close relative of T Rex called Yutyrannus from China, which is about 10 meters long, is the largest dinosaurs with direct feathers on evidence of direct feathers, because we actually got the fossils of Yutyrannus, a big dinosaur with feathers. They lived in quite a cool climate, so maybe something like not as far up north as Alaska, but maybe between Alaska and sort of somewhere in Canada, sort of that sort of temperature. Um, it's highly debated if Tyrannosaurus rex itself had feathers, because we don't have any direct evidence. Um, but if you use sort of the family tree relationship, it is possible that it did have feathers. It's also possible that it had feathers when it was young, and then when it grew old, it lost its feathers. Um, so there's a lot of debate, and I think at least online, a lot of people have very strong opinions about if Tyrannosaurus rex had feathers or not. But it's one which is it's not going to really be sort of finalized. I think anytime soon, because you can make good arguments either way.
Okay. I love the idea of that because I have chickens. I raise chickens in my yard. And in the summers, I have to let them out into the main yard because it's so hot. I live in Texas, and so it's really hot here.
Okay.
And when I walk out the back door, they'll come running toward me and they look like little dinosaurs. I mean, they just look like dinosaurs. So,
So yeah, all birds are actually dinosaurs. All birds are as much of a dinosaur as Tyrannosaurus rex is a dinosaur. Um, and this is sort of a discovery that's really been in the last sort of 20 years, and it's getting more attention within the public sphere.
yeah, it's great. It's great. Cass, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us? Oh, I just want to touch on the name of Tyrannosaurus rex. Tyrannosaurus rex means king of the tyrant lizards, and I love that. Is there anything else you want to tell us about Tyrannosaurus rex?
There might be some really cool Tyrannosaurus rex fossils out there in North America, in the United States, in Canada. So
Oh,
if you do find anything which looks interesting, take it to your local museum, because it could be the next big discovery. There could be new species of Tyrannosaurus uh, out there. It could be a juvenile one. If you get a juvenile specimen, please take it to the museum, because that would be a massive discovery. So who knows? It can literally be in your backyard. You have a really great fossil record out there. So yeah.
wow, that's amazing. Okay, Cass, thank you. That's so
Thanks for having
great.
me.
Yes. So I've been speaking with Cass Morrison, who studies and researches in the field of paleontology at University College London. And we've been talking about his new study suggesting that T Rex started out in Asia more than 70 million years ago and crossed the Bering Strait. Oh, I didn't ask you the question I really wanted to ask you, which was humans crossed the Bering Strait too at some point. So,
Correct.
I mean, much, much, much more recently, like 30,000 years ago instead of 70 million years ago. So,
Yes.
coincidence?
I think that there's been a lot of actually crossing of different vertebrates, animals, people, dinosaurs across from North America to from Asia, but also the other way around with some dinosaurs and also some animals as well. I think horses have made the crossing as well. Mammoths have gone over. So it seems to be quite a busy highway that is, at least
Apparently
throughout
so. Apparently
geological
so.
time.
Cass, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope we can speak with you another time.
Have a great day. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you. So that was Cass Morrison. We are here every day at 17:15 UTC, which is around midday in North America. Tomorrow, we'll be talking with geophysicist Leonard Owenen of Columbia University about US cities that are sinking, and we hope you'll join us then. And if you like hearing directly from scientists, please subscribe, like, and share. One Earth, one sky, EarthSky.